The new year started with a terrible accident, casting a dark shadow over what should have been a time of celebration and new beginnings. On December 31, 2024, Jeju Air Flight 2216, a Boeing 737-800, crashed while trying to land at Muan International Airport in South Korea. The plane, which had been in service for several years, was on a routine flight path, making the incident even more shocking. There were 181 people on board, including passengers and crew members. Each person had their own story, their own reason for being on that flight. The flight coming from Bangkok, Thailand, was full of people excited to return home for the holidays. Many were looking forward to reuniting with family and friends, sharing stories and creating new memories. Sadly, their lives were cut short in an instant. The crash site was a scene of devastation, with wreckage scattered and smoke billowing into the sky. The crash shocked everyone in South Korea and around the world. News channels quickly picked up the story, broadcasting images of the disaster and the rescue efforts that followed. News channels showed images of the burning plane, rescuers trying to help, and families crying, reminding everyone that life is precious, and danger can happen any time. The emotional impact was felt far and wide, as people empathized with the victims and their families. Out of the 181 people on the plane, only 2 crew members survived. Their survival, though miraculous, came with severe injuries that required immediate medical attention. They are in the hospital with serious injuries, giving a little bit of hope in this terrible situation. Their recovery will be long and arduous, but their survival offers a glimmer of light in an otherwise dark event. This accident has deeply affected the families who lost loved ones, the airline industry, and the whole world. The grief is palpable, and the mourning is widespread as people come to terms with the magnitude of the loss. The search for answers, for someone to be held responsible, and for ways to prevent this from happening again, has just begun. Investigators are meticulously combing through the wreckage, looking for clues that might explain what went wrong. The hope is that through their efforts, future tragedies can be averted, and the skies can be made safer for everyone. The last moments of Flight 2216 were a quick and terrifying change from normal to a disaster. What started as a routine flight quickly turned into a nightmare scenario that no one on board could have anticipated. The Boeing 737, a common type of plane, became extremely dangerous in just a few minutes. This aircraft, known for its reliability and safety, suddenly found itself in a dire situation that would test the skills and nerves of everyone involved. At 14:53 local time, the control tower at Muan International Airport heard from Flight 2216, and everything seemed normal. The communication was routine, with no signs of the impending disaster that was about to unfold. The pilot said there were no problems, and they were told they could land on runway 09. The crew, experienced and well-trained, acknowledged the instructions, and prepared for a standard landing procedure. But just a few minutes later, at 14:57, the control tower warned Flight 2216 about birds. The warning was clear and urgent, indicating a significant risk to the aircraft's safety. They said there were many birds near the runway. This information was critical, as bird strikes can cause severe damage to an aircraft, especially during takeoff or landing. The pilots heard the warning and started to go around again, which is normal in these situations. A go-around is a standard maneuver designed to avoid potential hazards and ensure a safe landing. However, only a few seconds later, at 14:58, the pilot made a desperate call, saying they hit birds and were losing altitude. The situation had escalated rapidly, and the crew was now fighting to keep the plane in the air. The pilots tried their best, but they couldn't control the plane anymore. Despite their efforts and training, the damage from the bird strike was too severe, and the aircraft was no longer responding to their commands. At 14:59, Flight 2216 crashed into the ground, sliding off the runway and hitting a concrete wall very hard. The impact was devastating, marking the tragic end of a flight that had started so normally just minutes before. The crash was devastating. The Boeing 737, moving very fast, broke apart when it hit the concrete wall. Pieces of the plane flew everywhere and the plane caught fire. People who saw the crash said it was terrifying. They heard a loud noise as the plane fell quickly, then a bright light and a huge explosion when it hit the ground. The heat from the fire was felt far away, and thick black smoke filled the sky. Emergency crews arrived quickly, but the fire was intense, and the wreckage was everywhere, making it very difficult to help. The crash site was a horrible sight, with broken metal, burning fuel, and belongings of the passengers scattered around. Right after the crash, authorities started a complete investigation to find out why it happened. This complex investigation involves experts from South Korea's Aviation and Railway Accident Investigation Board, Boeing, the United States National Transportation Safety Board, and the company that made the engine. The investigators are looking at several important things, including the birds, how the pilots reacted, if the plane had any problems, and what the air traffic controllers were doing. They are carefully examining the wreckage, analyzing the information recorded during the flight, and talking to witnesses and air traffic controllers to understand what happened before the crash. Making the investigation harder is the fact that the flight data recorder, which keeps track of what happened during the flight, was damaged in the crash. Although they can still get information from it, this damage makes the investigators' job much harder. Section 5. Bird strike, pilot error, or system failure. As the investigation continues, experts are thinking about different things that might have caused the crash. The bird strike, which we know happened because the pilot mentioned it and they found dead birds at the crash site, is a major focus. Planes hitting birds happen fairly often, but they rarely cause such bad accidents. Modern planes are built to withstand birds hitting them, and pilots are trained on what to do in these situations. However, the size and number of birds in this case and the fact that it happened as the plane was landing are concerning. It's possible that a large flock of birds hitting the engines at such an important time could have been too much, even for the plane's safety systems. Section 6. The runway's deadly design flaw. Besides the immediate causes of the crash, investigators are also looking at the airport itself, especially the runway. Muon International Airport's runway 09, where the crash happened, has a concrete wall at the end. This wall, which is common at airports, is meant to stop planes from going off the runway if they can't stop after landing. However, in this case, the wall might have made the crash worse. Instead of slowing the plane down, the concrete wall acted like a solid barrier, increasing the impact and causing the plane to break apart. Aviation experts are worried about the location and design of the wall, saying that other safety measures like concrete that breaks easily or a sloped wall might have lessened the impact and possibly saved lives. Section 7. Heartbreak and outraged families demand answers. While investigators are working hard to understand what caused this tragedy, the families of the victims are dealing with incredible sadness and demanding answers. The crash, which took the lives of their loved ones, has left them with pain, anger, and a desperate need for closure. Families went to the crash site on January 1, 2025, seeking comfort and demanding someone be held responsible. They brought flowers, prayed, and cried for their loved ones. Many are upset because they haven't received much information from authorities and are demanding transparency and a quick investigation. Making things even harder is the difficult process of identifying the victims. The intensity of the fire and the damage to the plane make this process very slow and emotionally painful. Section 8. Preventing future tragedies, a call for action. The Jeju Air Flight 2216 crash reminds us how important aviation safety is and that we must always try to improve it. Although accidents like this are uncommon, we can learn from each one to prevent future tragedies. The investigation's findings will be crucial in finding weaknesses in the system and making necessary changes. Whether it's finding better ways to prevent bird strikes, improving how we train pilots, or rethinking airport design, we must do everything we can to keep passengers safe. This tragedy also shows us that we need more openness and accountability in the airline industry. Airlines, regulators, and airports must work together to create a culture of safety, where risks are identified and addressed proactively. Section 9. Remembering the victims, honoring their memory. As the investigation continues and the world grieves the loss of 179 lives, we are reminded of the fragility of life and the importance of cherishing every moment. It's important to remember the victims, not just as numbers or statistics, but as individuals with dreams, aspirations, and loved ones who now face an unimaginable void. The people who boarded Flight 2216 with hopes and dreams, looking forward to reuniting with family, embarking on new adventures, or simply returning home, only to have their lives cut short in a moment of tragedy that none of us can fully comprehend. They were mothers and fathers, sons and daughters, friends and colleagues, each playing a vital role in the lives of those around them, each with a unique story, a tapestry of experiences and memories that made them who they were, a life full of love, laughter and aspirations, moments of joy and sorrow, achievements and dreams yet to be fulfilled. They will be deeply missed by those who knew and loved them, leaving behind a legacy of cherished memories and an enduring impact on their communities. Let's honor their memory, not just with words, but with a commitment to learning from this tragedy, ensuring that their loss was not in vain. By working tirelessly to prevent such horrors from happening again, we can create a safer world for future generations. Let's strive to make flying safer for everyone, implementing the highest standards of safety and vigilance, ensuring that their legacy lives on in a world where flying is not just a way to travel but a testament to human ingenuity and our unwavering commitment to safety, progress, and the value of every human life.